Fox News has obtained more text messages from those anti-Trump lovers at the FBI, agents who are investigating his campaign's possible ties to Russia. On Election Day, Lisa Page writes, "Oh my God, this is terrifying." Peter Strzok replies, "Oh my God, I am so depressed." Later that month, Page wrote, "I about all the president's men figure I need to brush up on Watergate." The texts are raising even more questions about what the FBI and former President Obama knew about the Clinton investigation and when. In one newly obtained message, Page writes about preparing talking points for FBI Director James Comey, saying, "POTUS wants to know everything we're doing." Didn't Mr. Obama once insist he never got involved in FBI investigations?
I do not talk to the Attorney General about pending investigations. I do not talk to FBI directors about pending investigations. We have a strict line and always have maintained it, previous presidents.
Just to button this up.
I guarantee it. I guarantee that there is no political influence in any investigation conducted by the Justice Department or the FBI, not just in this case, but in any case.
And she will be
full stop, period.
Full stop, Dana, period. So
full stop, period.
Well, disavows any suggestion.
It could look terrible, or it could be that he was seeking a briefing about the Russia involvement and meddling in the election. From these text messages, we don't know that. You could also be briefed and not try to weigh in if you're concerned about Russian involvement, because remember, the DNC was saying we were hacked, the Russians did this, and I'm sure that he wanted to say something. One of the criticisms of President Obama from Democrats is that he did not do enough talking about Russian meddling in the election. And if this was really about the Mueller probe, well, that would be one thing to know. We don't know that. And if it's about Hillary's email scandal, and if President Obama wanted to squash it, he wasn't very effective, because 10 days before the election is when James Comey sends the letter back up to Congress that says, by the way, I'm reopening the Hillary email investigation case. If you remember, Hillary Clinton, in her book, and not just in her book, but in all of her interviews, blames James Comey for her loss to President Trump. So I'm not exactly sure what's going on here.
All right, Jesse, do you have any clarity in your mind?
I wish I did. I'd like to know more. They should be testifying up on Capitol Hill. This may be the first clue, though, we have of President Obama possibly being involved in the FBI shenanigans. If he wants to know what the FBI is up to, is it about the Hillary investigation? That was closed at the time this text was sent. Is it about the Trump-Russia investigation? Not at that point. That was the 28th. This was the 2nd of September. Was it about the Trump-Russia investigation? We don't know that either. If it was about the DNC hack, he wants to know about that. They never even got the DNC server from the Democrats. They never handed it over, so that's suspicious.
Didn't even answer the calls.
Never even answered the calls. Obama says, he doesn't comment on pending investigations. He commented on the Hillary investigation on camera. He said that it never jeopardized national security. Actually, Comey then contradicted himself and said it did jeopardize national security. He weighed in on the IRS probe when that was pending. Said it was, just a few hooligans in the Cincinnati office. You know what? It was more than that, because Lois Lerner took the 5th. You have also text messages saying we have to focus on the task at hand. What are these anti-Trump FBI agents talking about? What's the task at hand? If they're so terrified about the election of President Trump, does it have anything to do with the insurance policy that they hatched in the Department of Justice's office? I'd like to know about that. That's why they should testify. They're also talking about a phone they have, where they're talking about Hillary Clinton's investigation, and we can't talk on this phone. Where'd that phone go? I'd like to see that phone. Maybe they smash it with a hammer like Hillary. They're Trump haters and they're snobs, because they referred to Republican voters in Virginia as ignorant hillbillies. And they're also Comey loyalists, and they love him to death. We've seen those texts. And they hate congressional oversight. They were besmirching the Republican Congress. There's also a wide gap, too, which was very interesting. So on the 28th of September, 2016, they discovered these Huma and Hillary emails on Weiner's laptop. A whole month passed before Comey comes out, and he says he was just briefed on the new emails they discovered. What happened in that month? I'd like to know that. People suspect McCabe, who was ushered out by Christopher Wray, may have something to do with delaying that. We're going to find out sooner or later. But the bottom line is that it's clear now that these Trump-hating FBI agents were on an anti-Trump mission, and President Obama may be involved.
That's really funny.
Look at Juan.
I mean, I
Joke's
love it.
on you, Juan.
Juan can barely control
I mean, I
himself.
think, at some point, Jesse, it's like, they talk about fog of war. This is fog of foolishness.
Okay,
At
tell me
some
why.
point, because it's obvious the president, and Dana picked up on this, Democrats are upset that President Obama did not do enough in terms of the Russian interference that he and the intelligence agencies had confirmed was taking place during the 2016 election.
Okay.
The idea that the FBI should be briefing the president on Russian interference is not far-fetched. That makes sense. That's
How do
what's
you
going
know
on.
that's
So
what
hang on.
President Obama
Let me just
wanted to
say,
be briefed on?
Because the circumstances, the timing is exactly right. Not only that, the Wall Street Journal has an article out today, and it says, texts from the 2016 preparation to brief Barack Obama about Russian interference in that year's election. So Jesse,
you're sure that these Trump-hating FBI
Jesse,
officials
I don't interrupt
weren't
you.
preparing
I let
Comey
you, Jesse,
for anything
I
else
let
to
you
brief the
rant
president?
and rave on this show.
I thought
I
it was
really
pretty
do.
calm.
I let you have I let you have the floor. But Jesse, at some point, don't you think it would be good, instead of always throwing up conspiracy theories to try to defend the indefensible Donald Trump, you might come with some facts?
You've been calling this whole thing a conspiracy for the last year, yet
Oh, my
every
gosh.
time facts come out, it proves you wrong.
Give me some facts. I'm
Everything
saying tonight,
you said about Hillary's probe was rigged.
Oh, my gosh. Please. Jesse,
Please.
tonight,
No, we've been
tonight,
reporting
this
on
for a
this
year.
topic, don't bring Obama into it. Just on this topic.
I didn't bring him into it.
You always
He's
do.
in the text.
But
Oh,
Juan,
yeah.
we
How
have
about
it's the
Clinton?
text message. It's part of the elements for tonight's show. Is he supposed to
See
ignore
that?
them?
Right, but I'm saying everybody knows what this is about, except Jesse, who wants to make it
I
because
hedged
Jesse
and said it
is
could have
so
been about
concerned.
Clinton, the Russia probe, or the Trump surveillance.
Guess what?
We don't
even
know.
today,
Maybe he could answer some questions.
Even today, Eric Holder at a breakfast meeting said President Obama never contacted him about any FBI investigation.
I don't trust Eric Holder
here we
as far
go.
as I can throw him.
Here
The guy
we
was
go.
held in
Well,
contempt
Didn't
of
we
Congress.
did we just play a clip of President Obama saying he doesn't get involved in FBI investigations?
Correct.
Well, whether it's about Donald Trump or the Russian investigation, he's involved, right?
No.
He just said,
wasn't
I never-
involved. He's asking, tell me what's going on with the Russians trying to influence an American election. That is appropriate.
You're putting words in the text.
Oh, I see. Okay. The Wall
I
Street
think-
Journal is too, I guess.
The thing is that with every bombshell, it's like we're getting shell shocked because no one is a bombshell. Every time new information comes out, more texts come out, we forget about the last ones. I always think that the best references in these Strzok page texts have to do with Hillary. You know, when on September 28th, you were talking about the Andy's office meeting. He said, new emails came out, the Huma and Wiener emails came out. And he says, Strzok says, will this never end? Strzok. Will this never end? He's dying to wrap up this Hillary thing. And you go back 5 months before when he says, when Trump was going to be the nominee. Remember when Cruz dropped out and Trump was going to be the nominee? They were going crazy on the text. I can't believe it. Oh my gosh, Trump is going to be the nominee. And now the pressure starts to finish the MYE. We know what that is, the Hillary investigation. He was trying to wrap up that Hillary investigation. And Juan, that's your evidence. It's all over the place. Bring in the jury. I will stand and I'm ready to lecture to the jury. There are so many incriminating texts in this
You know,
Strzok
he was
thing.
right about one thing.
What's that?
It will never end.
Yeah.
We are still talking about it, and
Exactly.
it is 2018. One thing it does go back to over and over again is this decision by Hillary Clinton and her team that allowed her to do it, including the White House, that allowed her to have a private server, a separate set of circumstances, emails that got destroyed, wiped up from the server. These guys end up talking about that, they're having their affair and talking about business and investigations on their government phones.
This is the unsexiest
blows me
affair ever.
away.
Did they talk about anything?
I don't know. A lot of it was redacted, right? Was there like, I don't know. Did you read the whole thing?
We didn't.
Yeah.
We
It's not
didn't get
even a
the
meet
good-
me for
we didn't get
coffee
the
or
good
what are you, there's
stuff.
not even a what are you
No,
wearing? There's nothing.
No, at one point he says, is it okay for me to send you some pictures?
Ooh.
It did. That's what it said.
Coming up on the fight.
We don't have the pictures.
We like
we don't
pictures. But
No, we don't.
not those kind of pictures.
Pretty sure we don't.
But Tom, just because we have two lovers who are sending, I mean, it's unbelievable how many emails they sent, right?
Yeah.
50,000. it doesn't mean that you can't have personal opinions.
It does.
Guess
One,
what?
it's more than that. People keep saying that. It's just people with a bias. They can put it aside.
They do.
They can't put it aside.
Why can't they
He's
put
going to
it
be
aside?
president. I'm losing my mind! Exclamation
so
point.
what?
It's unbelievable.
Oh, you think,
we've got to do something.
You
I mean,
must be
it's
forgetting-
very incriminating.
You must have forgotten
national
Election Day
security.
2016. There are people in this building screaming.
But also, they
Really?
must have been
That
very
was you.
ineffective. I mean, to the point, like, if they were trying to stop something, they were very ineffective
Man.
because, again, Comey's letter 10 days before the election is what so many Democrats point to as the point where they saw a lot of independent women's support drop in all of the key states.
Well, it should have dropped more if he didn't change the wording, though, right?
He was going to win anyway.
But our guy, Strzok, right?
Strzok.
He changed the
As in
words. He changed it
Strzok.
from, what's the words, Jesse? From extremely negligent to, oops,
something. Whoops.
yeah. To
They downplayed it.
And so it would have dropped even more if he didn't water it down.
You're talking
We have a
about
Grassley
when
memo?
Comey was speaking in July,
Saw the
not
Grassley
in
memo?
September, early October.
See?
What?
It'll never end.
I want to tell you guys about this other memo that dropped last night, this Grassley memo. Now, this is really interesting, Juan. I'd like to hear your defense on this. So, Hillary
I think you're the defender.
crony, Sid Blumenthal.
Yep.
Yeah.
He was feeding anti-Trump smears through the Obama State Department, and it wound up in Chris Steele's dossier. Now, Christopher Steele's dossier was based, now we know, on two things: Russian government sources and Sid Blumenthal's lies. The FBI also knew that Christopher Steele had been lying and had been leaking to the press about this. Yet they still used the dossier, and they still used Steele's credibility to the FISA court to present that as justification for spying on the Trump associates. Why would the FBI do that? Why would they hide the funding from the judge? Why did they deceive the judge?
Let me get we got Trey Gowdy on this, and I'm going to ask you to give your reaction, Juan.
Okay.
When you hear who the source, one of the sources of that information is, you're going to think, oh my gosh, I've heard that name somewhere before. Where could it possibly have been? And
The foreign source?
The domestic source. And I'm trying to think how Secretary Clinton defined him. I think she said he was an old friend who emailed her from time to time.
Sidney Blumenthal?
That'd be really warm. You're warm. Yeah.
That'd be hot.
Not warm.
Ding, 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 ding,
All
ding.
right, so Juan, get you to respond to that.
So I don't get it. Much of what's
We
in
know,
the
Juan,
Steele,
you don't get it.
I don't get you. I don't get why you think that this is somehow an indictment of the Steele dossier or the investigation. I would hope that you would have every source available if you are trying to get information about how the Russians are trying to influence our election and potentially colluding with
The
candidate Donald
source
Trump.
of the dossier was a Hillary crony
It doesn't
and
matter.
Russian liars in the Russian
Okay,
government.
so here's the thing, Jesse.
So do you think
If
that that's
it's
enough to
true-
present to a judge to spy
Yes,
on Americans?
Jesse.
It's not.
No,
Okay,
because
that's
it's
Jesse.
not verified,
Jesse,
Juan.
the judge
You're
was
not allowed
told-
to do that.
Yes, you are.
No, you're not. You cannot present unverified
Oh,
information
my
to a
gosh.
FISA judge.
Jesse, slow down, man. Let me talk for a second.
You
might
cannot.
learn something, okay? But clearly, the judge was told that the source of the dossier
Yes.
was a political partisan. The judge
No,
understood
was
this.
political.
Okay.
Was a
Did
play
not
out.
say where
Political.
it came from.
Yes, didn't
again, Dana and
specify, but
Tom,
they're
man.
political.
Okay, so it has no
here's
bearing whether or
it
not the
doesn't
opponent
matter. No,
of the
it
person they're
doesn't.
running
If
for
it's
president
true,
against.
It's true.
It wasn't true.
Of course it was true.
What
But
was
let me
true about the dossier?
I'm not getting into that here, but I will
Name
make
one
this
thing.
point. You know what,
We have
Jesse?
to say
One
things
thing.
like Groundhog
All
Day.
that we know about today is
One.
this day with this business about the FBI lovers and their
Can't
texts.
do it.
He's not even
You
doing
guys are so desperate
Can't
to
do it.
somehow undermine Robert Mueller. You'll do anything. Republicans will put on
But
blinders
no, but
not
nevertheless-
to see the
Undermine
truth
themselves,
about
Juan.
Donald
But
Trump.
nevertheless,
Open your eyes.
you've not been able to proffer one fact forward that was accurate or true in the dossier to support that.
Are you
Therefore,
kidding?
it's lacking any kind of
Oh,
credibility
I
or
see.
veracity.
Oh, yeah. How
Dana.
about the Russians interfered in our presidential election?
Well, and that's one thing that Trey
not
Gowdy
what
also
the
said to
dossier said,
Martha
Juan.
last night in the interview is that regardless of the dossier, there would have been an investigation about Russian meddling in the election. But the other thing I want to say about the Grassley memo that you mentioned that kind of irritates me about the Nunes memo, that apparently, remember I made this whole big thing about how you shouldn't take a Yahoo News article in to convince the judge that there's corroboration? Well, in the Grassley memo, it says it wasn't used for corroboration, that Yahoo News article. So I feel like I get cautious about commenting on all of this because it's cherry-picked information. It's not complete.
I don't get what you mean.
The Grassley memo says that the Yahoo News article derived from Steele was used to corroborate Steele, but that is not why the article was referenced. The Grassley memo appears to confirm that it was not presented for the purpose of corroboration.
So there's a contradiction,
yes,
therefore,
but I was so
I didn't read
indignant
that in
about
the
it.
memo. I didn't see that. I know they did present it alongside the dossier.
Yeah. We got to get Tom in, and then we're like already
Steele.
in like the deep
I'll
now.
be calm, Juan. I'll be calm.
Right.
I'll be friendly. It's dirty. It's dirty.
It's dirty.
It's dirty.
You know what I think? Peter Strzok's going to start sending texts to Jesse, little love notes, and it's going to blow Jesse's mind.
Please don't.
The number of people, Juan,
They're going to both be Eagles
right.
fans.
and Steele was.
Yep, and I'll bleach them.
Okay, so we got to go. You guys can continue this witty repartee during the break.